Padre Pio was not just a man of faith, he was a living bridge between the spiritual and the physical worlds, carrying secrets of immense power and importance, whispered to him by the Virgin Mary herself. What if I told you that these secrets, hidden away for decades, reveal a profound truth that could change everything we know about the afterlife? Today, we dive deep into the silent act that Padre Pio exposed, a spiritual act that he believed prevented countless souls from falling into eternal damnation. What did he know? What was it that the world was not ready to hear? Padre Pio's life was filled with miracles, stigmata, and encounters with the divine. He wasn't just a mystic or a man gifted with visions. He was someone chosen to carry messages that would transcend time and space. One of the most important of these messages, however, remained locked away for decades. It wasn't until one of his closest brothers, Brother Modestino, shared the story of what Padre Pio had revealed about the afterlife that we began to understand the weight of his words. Padre Pio was more than a healer or a mystic. He was a sentinel who stood guard at the threshold between life and death. In his visions, he witnessed not only angels and demons, but also the fates of souls either saved by divine grace or condemned by their actions. In his intimate conversations with the Virgin Mary, he came to understand one silent, powerful act that could keep souls from the eternal torment of hell. What is this act? It is something simple, yet profoundly effective. It is an act of humility, penance, and deep personal sacrifice that, when practiced with sincerity, protects the soul in ways that we cannot fully comprehend. For Padre Pio, this silent act was a lifeline for countless souls he witnessed spiraling toward damnation. But Padre Pio didn't just see this act as a protective shield. He believed that this act could reverse the paths of souls already headed for hell. This is where things get even more extraordinary. It wasn't just about the individual, it was about how this act affected the entire spiritual ecosystem, the souls in purgatory, and the eternal battle between good and evil. The act Padre Pio spoke of was the silent offering of suffering. Yes, suffering. It wasn't about public displays of pain or martyrdom. It wasn't about seeking glory or recognition. This act was a quiet, humble surrender of personal suffering for the sake of others. It was a spiritual offering made in silence, an offering that would protect souls, not only from the consequences of their own sins, but also from the forces of darkness that sought to drag them into the abyss. But why suffering? Why was it that this offering of pain, given in silence, had the power to alter the fate of souls? Padre Pio understood something that many of us fail to grasp, that suffering, when united with the suffering of Christ, becomes redemptive. Just as Christ's passion and crucifixion opened the gates of heaven for all who believe, so too does our suffering, offered in union with His, have the power to save. It's the idea of redemptive suffering, where our personal struggles, when united with Christ's sacrifice, can change the fate of others. And Padre Pio, through his own stigmata and his many years of suffering, was a living testament to this truth. But Padre Pio's revelation was not just about the individual's suffering. He saw the bigger picture. He knew that this silent act of suffering, offered up in prayer, could be applied to the entire world. In his mind, it was a way of engaging in spiritual warfare, a way to fight the unseen battle that raged in the spiritual realm. When souls on earth offered up their suffering in silence, it created an invisible barrier between them and the forces of hell, protecting not just them, but also those around them, and even future generations. Think about it. What if our own personal suffering, whether it's emotional pain, physical illness, or the burdens of life, could become a weapon against evil? What if, instead of allowing our pain to lead us into despair, we could offer it to God as a means of salvation for ourselves and others? This is what Padre Pio believed, and it's a message that resonates deeply in today's world. You see, Padre Pio wasn't interested in a theology of escapism. He didn't believe that simply avoiding pain would bring salvation. He knew that suffering was an inevitable part of life, but it didn't have to lead to eternal damnation. Instead, it could be used to unite us with the redemptive suffering of Christ and, in turn, open the gates of heaven. In his conversations with the Virgin Mary, Padre Pio was told that the world would enter a period of great trial, a period in which the forces of evil would work tirelessly to deceive and destroy. Yet, in this darkness, there was a light, the silent act of offering suffering as a means of salvation. Mary showed Padre Pio that this was the hidden weapon against the forces of hell, and it was one that, when embraced, would protect souls in ways unimaginable. Padre Pio's revelations about the afterlife were not meant to scare or frighten us. Instead, they were meant to guide us toward a deeper understanding of how we can engage with the spiritual realm and how our actions here on earth can have eternal consequences. In a world that often seeks comfort and distraction, Padre Pio called us to something higher. He called us to a life of humility, sacrifice, and spiritual warfare, a life where our personal sufferings could become an offering to God and a means of salvation for others. But the act of suffering alone was not enough. Padre Pio knew that the heart behind this suffering was crucial. It wasn't enough to simply endure pain. One had to embrace it with love, with the intention of helping others, and with the understanding that this was part of God's greater plan. It was about aligning our will with God's will, offering up our struggles for the good of the world and the salvation of souls. And that's where you come in. Padre Pio's message is not just for the past, it's for the present, and it's for the future. The world needs this message now more than ever. We live in a time where many souls are slipping through the cracks, unaware of the spiritual battles being fought around them. But you have a role to play. You can participate in this act of redemption by embracing your own suffering and offering it up to God for the salvation of others. Now, let's reflect on what Padre Pio truly meant. It wasn't about martyrdom for the sake of martyrdom. It wasn't about seeking to suffer for the sake of suffering. No, it was about understanding that suffering, when offered with love and faith, can transform lives and souls. Padre Pio showed us that suffering, when embraced with Christ-like humility, could lead to the salvation of souls, both in this life and the next. This is not just a theoretical message. It's a practical, life-changing truth. You may be experiencing suffering in your own life right now, whether it's the loss of a loved one, the pain of illness, the struggles of daily life. Padre Pio would tell you that this pain is not meaningless. It has a purpose, and when you offer it up to God, it can become a redemptive act that changes not only your life but the lives of others. As we conclude, remember this: Padre Pio's life and message were not just about miracles and stigmata. They were about the power of suffering to redeem, to protect, and to transform. By embracing this silent act, you can participate in a powerful spiritual work that transcends time and space. You can protect your soul, the souls of those you love, and even those you may never meet. It's a calling that echoes through the ages, and now it's up to you to answer. The silent act that Padre Pio revealed to the world is not just an isolated concept. It's a profound practice, rooted in deep faith and a profound connection to God. This is not about a mystical ritual or something reserved for saints alone. This is an act that every individual, regardless of their status or spiritual knowledge, can incorporate into their lives. Padre Pio's message was clear. This silent act is an invitation for everyone to partake in the divine work of salvation. Now, let's dive deeper into what this act truly involves. While it may seem simple, it's truly revolutionary in its power. This act centers around the concept of offering up one's personal suffering, not in a vain attempt for self-pity, but as a conscious choice to align one's will with God's divine plan. It is a choice to surrender your pain, your heartache, and your burdens, transforming them into something holy. This act can be a quiet, private offering that, in the eyes of God, becomes a profound prayer, one that reaches beyond this world and into eternity. Padre Pio's entire life was dedicated to this idea. Through his own sufferings, most notably the stigmata, he became a living example of the power of redemptive suffering. His stigmata were not just marks of personal pain, but a visible sign of his participation in Christ's suffering for the salvation of the world. Every time he felt the wounds of Christ, every time his body bore the marks of Jesus' sacrifice, Padre Pio knew he was uniting his suffering with Christ's, offering it for the salvation of souls. His whole life was a living testament to this silent act of redemption. But Padre Pio's suffering was not a passive experience. It was active. He didn't just endure the pain, he sought to use it for the good of others. This is a crucial part of the silent act he revealed. It's not enough to suffer in isolation or for selfish reasons. The act of offering one's suffering must be done with an intention that goes beyond personal healing. When we suffer, it's an opportunity to enter into solidarity with others, to take on their burdens, and to offer them up for their benefit. This is where the power of intercession comes in. By offering our own pain for others, we become instruments of God's mercy. Let's pause for a moment and reflect on how this can be applied in your own life. Many of us face suffering in one form or another, whether it's physical illness, emotional distress, family struggles, or even the challenges of everyday life. These are not isolated events. In Padre Pio's eyes, they are opportunities to participate in the redemptive suffering of Christ. By offering up your suffering, you can transform it into something that has eternal significance. But how do we offer up our suffering? It begins with prayer. Padre Pio encouraged people to embrace prayer as a tool that unites us with the divine, especially during times of pain. This doesn't mean just saying words or reciting prayers from a book. It means entering into a dialogue with God, offering up your struggles, and surrendering your will to His. It means praying not just for your own comfort, but for the souls of others, for those who are suffering, for those who don't know Christ, and for the world in need of divine intervention. Padre Pio also emphasized the importance of penance. Penance is not simply about self-punishment or remorse for one's sins. It's about a deeper kind of repentance that opens the heart to God's grace. Through penance, we are reminded of our dependence on God and the importance of humility. In this act, our suffering becomes a means of transformation, not just for us, but for the whole world. Moreover, Padre Pio revealed that this act of silent suffering must be done with love. Love is the most powerful force in the spiritual realm. When we suffer with love, when we offer up our pain with the intention of helping others, it becomes an act of great merit in the eyes of God. Our suffering is no longer just about us. It becomes a source of grace for those we love and even for those we may never meet. It's through this act that Padre Pio believed we can alter the course of history, prevent souls from falling into hell, and bring light into the darkest corners of the world. This brings us to the concept of spiritual warfare. Padre Pio was keenly aware of the battle that rages in the spiritual realm. He didn't just witness it in his visions, he was an active participant in it. He understood that the forces of darkness were constantly at work, seeking to claim souls for hell. But he also understood that God has provided a way to fight back. The silent act of suffering, offered in union with Christ's own suffering, is a spiritual weapon, a weapon that, when wielded with faith and love, can defeat the enemy and protect souls. Now, consider the implications of this in the context of our modern world. We live in a time of immense challenges, societal, political, and spiritual. Many people are struggling with the weight of the world on their shoulders, facing battles that feel insurmountable. In these moments, Padre Pio's message becomes more important than ever. He showed us that we don't have to face these battles alone. Through the power of redemptive suffering, we can engage in a spiritual battle that has eternal consequences. Our personal sacrifices, offered in prayer and love, have the power to change the course of history. Imagine the difference it could make if every person who suffers on this earth chose to offer up their pain for the salvation of others. Imagine if we all began to see our struggles as opportunities to participate in God's greater plan. This is the legacy of Padre Pio. It's a legacy that invites us into a deeper relationship with God, a relationship built on humility, love, and sacrifice. It's a legacy that calls us to engage in spiritual warfare, not with weapons of destruction, but with the power of prayer and suffering offered up in love. As we continue to reflect on Padre Pio's message, we must remember that this is not just a passive act, it's an active choice. Every time we suffer, we are faced with a decision. Will we embrace our pain and offer it to God, or will we succumb to despair? It's easy to become overwhelmed by life's struggles, to feel as though we are powerless in the face of suffering. But Padre Pio's life shows us that suffering, when embraced with faith and love, can become a powerful instrument of grace. So, if you are facing difficulties in your life right now, remember this: your suffering is not meaningless. It can be transformed. It can become a force for good, for healing, and for salvation. Just as Padre Pio united his suffering with Christ's, so too can you. Your silent act of offering suffering, whether it's for yourself or for others, has the power to protect souls, heal broken hearts, and change the world. As we come to the final part of our journey into the profound revelations that Padre Pio shared with the world, we must take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. The silence of suffering, the offering of our pain, and the redemptive power that lies within this silent act. These are not just abstract theological concepts. These are spiritual truths that, when embraced, can transform our lives and the lives of those around us. In the final analysis, Padre Pio's message is not just about the past, it is about the present and the future. His life, his stigmata, his deep connection to the spiritual realm, and his willingness to endure unimaginable suffering for the sake of others were all part of a divine plan. A plan that calls each one of us to participate in the ongoing work of salvation. And this plan, as revealed through Padre Pio, is one that can bring hope, healing, and peace to a world that desperately needs it. The silent act that Padre Pio revealed is not meant to be a heavy burden, but rather an invitation to a higher way of living. It's a call to a deeper relationship with God, one that is built not just on the joys of life, but also on the sorrows and struggles we face. Padre Pio understood that we cannot escape suffering, but we can choose how we respond to it. Will we let it break us, or will we allow it to refine us and transform it into something redemptive? This silent offering of suffering, when united with Christ's own suffering, becomes an act of great love. It is love that doesn't seek recognition or reward, but seeks only to do God's will and to offer hope to those in need. In this way, suffering becomes a shared experience, a way to connect with others, especially those who are struggling. Padre Pio's life shows us that we are not alone in our suffering. It connects us to a larger, divine plan. And when we offer up our pain in silence, we become part of something greater, something eternal. But what about the souls that Padre Pio spoke of? The souls who were in danger of falling into hell, those who were lost in the darkness of sin and despair? Padre Pio's message is also one of hope for them. He knew that the forces of evil were always at work, trying to claim souls for eternity. But he also knew that there was a powerful weapon against this darkness, the act of redemptive suffering. When souls unite their suffering with Christ's, they too can become part of the battle for salvation. This battle is not fought with swords or armies. It is fought with prayer, with acts of charity, and with the quiet surrender of our pain for the sake of others. Each time we offer up our suffering, we are contributing to this cosmic battle. Each time we pray for someone who is lost or struggling, we are strengthening the spiritual forces that protect them. And every time we endure hardship with faith and love, we are pushing back the forces of darkness that seek to pull us away from the light. Padre Pio saw this battle clearly. He understood that the fate of souls hung in the balance, and that our choices, our actions, our prayers, and our willingness to suffer had real consequences. But he also knew that there was hope. There was always hope. Even in the most difficult moments of life, even in the darkest corners of the world, God's grace was at work, bringing light into the shadows. And the most powerful tool we have in this battle is the silent offering of our suffering. Now, let's talk about how this message applies to our own lives today. We live in a time when many people are disconnected from the deeper truths of the spiritual realm. We are surrounded by distractions, by the noise of the world, and by a culture that often denies the reality of suffering. But Padre Pio's message is a call to rise above these distractions, to look beyond the surface, and to engage with the deeper truths that govern our existence. In a world that often seeks comfort and pleasure, the idea of offering up suffering may seem counterintuitive. But Padre Pio understood something that many of us overlook. Suffering is not inherently bad. It is not something to be feared or avoided at all costs. It is, in fact, one of the most powerful ways we can draw closer to God. When we embrace suffering with love and faith, we open ourselves to a deeper experience of God's grace. We become more like Christ, who suffered for the salvation of the world. This is not just a spiritual concept. It has real, tangible implications for our daily lives. When we encounter suffering, whether it's through illness, loss, personal struggles, or the challenges of everyday life, we have a choice. We can either let it consume us, or we can offer it up to God. We can let our pain lead us into despair, or we can allow it to deepen our relationship with God and open our hearts to the needs of others. Imagine if we all chose to embrace our suffering in this way. Imagine if, instead of seeing pain as a curse, we saw it as an opportunity for spiritual growth. Imagine if, instead of running away from hardship, we leaned into it with faith and love, knowing that it has the potential to change not only our own lives, but the lives of those around us. Padre Pio's life and teachings show us that we have the power to transform our suffering into something holy. It's not about avoiding pain or pretending that everything is okay when it's not. It's about acknowledging our pain, offering it to God, and trusting that it will be used for good. This is the heart of Padre Pio's message. This is the silent act that has the power to save souls and change the world. As we wrap up this journey, let's take a moment to reflect on how we can apply Padre Pio's message to our own lives. Is there something you are struggling with right now? Perhaps a physical ailment, an emotional burden, or a personal challenge. How can you offer this suffering up to God for the sake of others? How can you transform your pain into something redemptive? The silent act of offering our suffering in love is not just an abstract idea. It is a practical, life-changing truth. By embracing this act, we participate in the ongoing work of salvation, both for ourselves and for others. And by doing so, we become part of a larger spiritual story, a story that stretches across time, that connects us to the saints, to Christ Himself, and to the divine plan of salvation. If this message has touched your heart, I encourage you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. How has suffering shaped your own spiritual journey? How can we all work together to embrace this silent act of redemption in our lives? I would love to hear from you and continue this conversation with you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you found this video helpful. And remember, no matter what you are going through, you are never alone. Through the silent act of offering your suffering, you participate in something far greater than yourself, a divine plan that will ultimately lead to victory over darkness, sin, and death. May the grace of God fill your heart and guide you as you continue to walk the path of faith, love, and redemption.